Welcome back to the channel. If you guys did not know by now, my name is DJ, and on this channel we like to talk about real estate, finance, credit, you name it, all different types of things, just whatever can help better yourself. Today I got my boy with me, JQ, and we are going to be talking about renting versus buying. So introduce yourself, let's talk about it real quick. We want to talk about your situation, and I'll kind of chime in as well on how we feel about the situation, so go ahead.
Gotcha. So my name is JQ Jaquez. I have a house now, but I was renting, obviously, right out of college. I got a 2-bedroom apartment, you know, the one that doesn't really get maintained too well, the one that's the rent's cheap, so you don't really complain too much.
How many units was in that complex? 30 units?
Probably.
So like a solid size?
Maybe 25 or so.
Okay.
But
okay.
yeah, so it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It was $750 for the rent.
And growing up, what was the situation with that? Like, with your housing, with your family, like, what? Because I feel like that played a huge factor in your mindset from renting that apartment to wanting to buy a home.
Oh yeah, like not having anybody to look. Many people like you look around. I'm like, I don't know many homeowners. I don't know what that looks like. And so for me, it was like the uncertainty of like not being able to control my destiny because I didn't have it before. That was that was the final straw. But that wasn't the final straw. I'll tell the final straw about that apartment, but. It was just it's a motivator. It just keeps you going. Like, all right, I mean, for me personally, I'm not saying this for everybody. It ain't for everybody. But I'm saying, like, for me, it was like, I don't want this feeling because my apartments, they wasn't really keeping up to par with it. They was raggedy, to be honest with you. And so I'm like, do I really want my future to be, like, my future living to be in the hands of somebody who don't even take care of this spot? Like, what if they just didn't feel like...
And just keep upping it.
Or whatever, you know, they was about to. And so, but that was the final straw. But as I was living there, it just wasn't like, I just didn't like the fact that it's not maintained. You're not about to fix nothing. Like, I'm not about to fix the leaking ceiling because you're not going to cut my rent. You're not going to, you know, so it was like, for me, it was like, you can't put any money into your living place. You can, but you're not going to get anything out of it, which is cool. Like, you should just want to do that. But when you don't want to be there, you don't want to put no money in it. So then it's like, and then they don't fix it. So I just, I had some water leaking from the ceiling above. And I would just document all of it. I kept submitting requests. I kept telling them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll come fix it." So then, towards the end, I'm like, "Yeah, this is out." So then my lease was coming up, and they were like, "Well, we decided that we're gonna change the rent or raise the rent $400." Yeah, all right, you go ahead.
So you stayed in there for 1 year?
I stayed there for two.
You stayed for two, right?
My first 2 years out of college. So the first year it was $750. The next year they raised it to like $865.
It was 2-bedroom,
1 bath.
1 bath.
And so, but then they were going from the $850. They were going to like almost $1,200 or something, like, because it was already it was.
And it was the same management.
Same people.
Really?
They was just on some like I think this is like right before the rental cap like cracked off. So this is when they hit you with the 10% rent increase.
Right.
So they was like,
so talk about that a little bit too. On the aspect of the rental cap, the city regulations, because some cities don't have it as much as certain cities do. So talk about that for a second.
So it's essentially what you can raise the rent by per year, depending on how much the average is in that city. So some cities will say, like Portland, they'll say you can. They set it to where like 3 to 5% is what you can raise it, but it depends on jurisdiction and all that. But that's how much
year to year.
Year to year, you can raise it. You don't have to raise it, but that's the amount, the threshold now. But back then it was a little bit higher, or unless they just did some stuff they weren't supposed to. But they was on. I didn't stick around to find out, because when I was already pre-approved while they had sent me that letter, and so I already knew my exit strategy was in lease. I'm gonna be up out of here. So I had a deadline. I had to figure something out. But in the meantime, I kept documenting the water. I kept submitting it. So what I did is I found the place. I got my house approved. I got all the information done. So then I held my last month's rent. Like, I'm not paying y'all until y'all can fix the ceiling, because they knew my lease was coming up to an end. That was my last payment. So I'm like, well, you want this payment or do you want to come fix the ceiling? And so then they're like, okay. So they sent somebody out and they were like, oh, it's bad. We have to tear the whole ceiling out, the whole shower, the whole bath. That's on y'all.
That's not my fault.
So the funny thing, I had already closed on the house. And so they were like, well, you can't use the bathroom for a week and we don't want to, like, I'm like, do your thing.
Fine.
Count me, like, I'm good. I'm like, I got it, it's cool. So they thought I'd stand at somebody's house, but in reality, I had already bought my house and I was already taking a shower in there. But I had to play tough ball, because when I would have moved out, they would have said I did the ceiling. I don't know how they would have said, but you know, they could have flipped it. And so for me, but when they said that $400 rent increase, I started looking at the market and I'm like I got pre-approved, so they show you what your mortgage would be. I'm like, nah, I'm not finna be paying $100 less than I would be for a mortgage for something that's mine.
Right.
And then I'm getting more space. I got another bedroom. I got 2 more bathrooms. I got a 2 more stories. Like my garage. Like no, there's no way you're telling. And so when I seen the shimmer. I'm like, wait. And I found a way. Go watch the real estate one that we shot.
Oh yeah, we shot that a while ago.
So
I look, you need to just put that video on this channel.
Yeah, so we'll
and
do that.
just drop it on this channel too.
So we shot a video before, and I'll tell you about how I bought the house. But in doing all of that, I came up on it. So I was like, yes, I'm about to leave here because I essentially bought the house for the amount of money that they wanted to raise my rent to, like total.
Right.
So I'm like, well, yeah.
I'm gonna get a house that I own and it's doing well with equity right now in a couple years, and compared to just not getting nothing. So everybody has all these different mindsets about renting and owning, and we understand not everybody can just go out and purchase a home, be like, oh, I'm gonna purchase a home today. We understand that. There's a lot of factors that come along with that, which we can talk about later. But there's a lot of pros and cons to both. I know one argument that I hear a lot with people that do rent that don't want to own is they have a good job, they make a lot of money, but they just don't want to be stuck to like a city or something like that, which is kind of confusing to me because I always think like, why don't you just rent it out? And if you move somewhere else, like just cash flow it or pay the difference. Like
I'll give you a hack that a lot of people don't do and know about, and it's a more advanced investing. So you should definitely do some research, contact your lawyers and all that. But what people do is like you live in LA, right? You say, okay, I don't have $1.5 million for this LA house because my mortgage will be $5,000 a month, and they're not going to give me that, right? So people they take their money to another market that's less expensive. So now, let's say you have a cousin who's in the Midwest. They're in Chicago. They're in somewhere, they're in an up and developing city where you can go to and you can help develop that place, add some value there, raise neighborhood values by upgrading properties. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to help somebody do kind of what you want to do with your hometown. You say, well, I can't afford to do it here. Do it somewhere else. Go create a park or do something for the neighborhood. And as you're doing that, you're adding value to your property. You're making your money make money for you. So now you got 1, 2, 3 properties. Those properties will pay for your LA house. Mm-hmm. So you might have real estate out of town being property managed and everything, but if you can get it all set up and structured with if you have some, like some things in place, you can make another city's market pay to get you into the market you're in, no matter what the cost is. That just means you have more work to do. So if you in New York and you want a $2 million building, you know what kind of, but you're gonna have to go make your money work. But obviously you're probably making it good enough. If you can afford to live there, you're making a good enough money to be able to invest if that's what you so choose. Mm-hmm. And so it's more just going to a market that's less than your market that you want to add value to, that you can see the appreciation, you can see the value there because you got to leave your money there and not be there. Mm-hmm. So it has to be a market you're like, I'm confident enough to say I can add value and it'll help this, like developing, just because you don't want to go somewhere where you're parking your money and you're like, okay, like I don't know anything about the market. So research is your friend. I'm not telling you where to go put your money at, but research is your friend. Think about your family. Think about all that. You're like, your family could drive by the property and go check it out for you. They got ways to pay the rent. That's not, so it's ways to do it from a distance.
There's a lot of options for everything. Like, there's not one way to make a lot of money. There's not one way to invest. There's not one way. There's so many different options that you can do it, and that's what's so dope about it. Like, we could both own 10 homes and do it completely differently and still be making it work. So just always try to think outside the box. Be open to other people's opinions and what they have to say. Or I always like to listen to somebody else that's actually doing it, not somebody that's not doing it, that's telling me what to do. That kind of always be confusing me sometimes because I'm like, wait, how you going to tell me and you ain't even doing it or done it, or you know what I'm saying? So that's a whole nother topic, but I don't know. I would say just be open to listening to other people's options, just like he's giving you guys some advice and listening to what he got to say, because there's a lot of ways to do it. You can definitely do it so many different ways.
What it is it's exposure. Yep. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. And it's more like I didn't know anything about real estate until I got into real estate, and then I bought a house, and then so it's like, but I didn't even know what came along with that. And so sometimes I think like you can let your fear block you from even going to look that far. You're like, I don't know nothing over there, so let me just
stay over here.
And then sometimes like yet again, like it's not for everybody. Like I understand that like everybody doesn't want to own. It's a lot of responsibility. Like you're liable for somebody else's living environment if you're not living in it. So it's a lot that comes with it. So we understand that part of it. Like a lot of people just don't want that. A lot of people like to move a lot. A lot of people don't want. So it's like, but it's just an option. So this is more like a video of like, you don't have to buy real estate, but if you were to so buy real estate,
Right.
there's a lot of ways to do it and to get in.
I just always think of like, when you think of all the wealthiest people, or even people that are just stable, really, really stable, they all have some type of real estate investment. And that's
Only-
what I always think about.
Only one.
Majority.
Elon doesn't.
Okay, majority.
But-
no,
yeah.
he just sold, like, he just had like 8 big old homes, and he sold them for like charity.
You don't got no houses
Now. As of last week.
I just had to say that because it was coming in the comments.
Right,
But,
right. I
yeah,
feel you,
but-
but,
but yeah,
I don't know.
I know what you
and
mean.
then for me, also, it's like, okay, if I own a home that I live at, even if it does go down in value, I get something back. If I live at a place where I rent, I get nothing back. If it's tough for me because, especially with gentrification, like we see it all the time, right? Families had the opportunity to buy homes, they didn't. They rented, they lived there for 20-something years, paid off the entire home, the property value goes up, they remodel the neighborhood, next thing you know, they kick them out because they're about to sell it for some high dollar, or they're going to bring in another renter for another high price, and then they get pushed out when they had the opportunity to do the same. And there's like seller finance, and there's so many other different ways where you could go about purchasing the home, but then people get in that situation, and then that's when we talk about the whole generational wealth thing, and it's like all this stuff, or it could be the family did own the home. The kid takes the home because the grandma used to have the house, and then they just go sell it, and then they don't got nothing. They trick off all the money, and the next thing you know, we're back at square one again.
And yet again, it comes all down to exposure. You can't fault somebody for tricking off some money that they never had.
And
no
they didn't
money.
know, right?
And it's also like, even in the circumstances, it's like if you didn't have exposure to real estate, it's not something you just hop into.
Right.
I mean, people do, but it's not. So especially like, I don't fault people for not buying up the houses in the inner city when they could have back in the day, could have quotation. I just think it was too advantageous to rent it out and for them to do the way they did, and they made it that way strategically. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But I think for me, it's more like I do this for exposure to show people that it's possible that we're really doing this in real life. Because had people been, not saying that there weren't people buying property, we've always bought property, but as a bigger number,
Right.
like now we have technology, so now we can share this. Now, who is going to come and kick it to the kids like, oh yeah, I bought my house when I was 23, 24,
Right.
like, and it's like,
Right.
so, and we a lot of the older generations tend to harbor the information where we're just going to give it away because like we can't get to this next level.
Product of your environment.
We gotta,
and it's like,
we got to give it away.
back then, there was, like you said, no tech. Like, you knew what was in your hood. You knew all the homies you was riding around bikes with and everybody that was around there. You knew what was going on there. If everybody's doing the same thing, they don't know what's happening in Beaverton or over here or whatever they're like. They're just not in the mix, and they don't got the game to get put to them. So hopefully we can help y'all a little bit, or at least, like we said, make you think about it a little different of a way to hopefully better yourself. I'm always an advocate of buying instead of renting. Like, for me, in my situation, I was like, I'm fortunate and blessed and thankful so much for my parents because I had the opportunity to, when I got done with college, move back into my parents' home and stay there. And I stayed there for like, it wasn't even that long. I think it was like 3 months or 4 months. But I moved back to my parents' home, and then that's when I went off and I was like, I'm not renting. I'm going to stay at my parents' home, and then I'm going to buy my house, and that's going to be what I do. I can't even have that puddle jump step process. I need to go here to there. I was in a fortunate situation when it comes to that, but that's how I always push people, like, find a way, stay at your homie's house, do whatever you got to do to save as much possible money on renting so you can buy as soon as possible. That's how I think.
And, that works as long as you got a lot of money. I mean, it's...
Not really, because look at your situation. Like,
but I mean...
It wasn't even like you needed... I mean, we both... I put 5% down. Like, it was not like I put a lot of money down.
But I mean more like, I think the idea of buying is amazing, and I think a lot of people should do it. But I think like, it's just when I look on LA and like I look at people in Cali, I'm like, it's so daunting that I wouldn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
where do you start when...
I don't know why people even
You
wanna
say
buy in
you
LA.
say it. Okay, I was gonna say you can't backpedal after you say it.
What?
Why buy in LA?
Yeah.
But like, I think for me it's more like there's other ways to get what you want. That's what I like to think, because it's like, bro, I know people right now that cannot. They're making good money. You still can't. You make
Yeah.
200,000.
Right.
What you gonna buy? Like,
Right.
I mean, you could get some stuff, but like, I'm being facetious, but it's just the fact that like I think just giving people exposure to it and then letting them say that's a decision I want to make or not. Because for me, it's like, where you live at don't bother me none. I mean, I honestly, I want you to buy, but if you don't, I want to rent to you of something nice quality.
Right.
So either way, I want you to win.
That-
I want to give you the information to buy, or I want to provide you with the quality housing you're looking for to rent. So either way, we're here to help, and so I think that's where it starts, is just like showing people that look like us, that came from where we came from, that it's possible.
And that's a big thing we talked about too. Like, we're still rookies. Well, I guess if it was like a sport, we're not rookies because it's not our first year. But you get what I'm saying. We're still rookies.
It's
We got
sophomore
people that
year
we're
in high
going.
school.
We got people that's going up against us that done 30, 40, 20. All these different amounts of years and knowledge and homes and all that stuff. But like we've always talked about, how can we better the people that do rent from us in our homes? How can we make it better for them? We need to try to educate them so they can go move on. And if somebody else moves in to rent from us, we can give them the best deal possible, give them a good living experiences, and then be like, bruh, what you need to do to get to that next stepping point. If you got a 1-year lease, all right, cool. How can we get you out of here in the next year and get you to your next home? Like,
But
that's how I think about it, at least. Obviously, yeah, we're going to make money off of other people living in our homes. That's how everything works. But we still want to push them to be great and do whatever they want to do as well.
But on the flip side, you can be great and live in my house for 30 years if you want to. You don't gotta live. If it ain't for you, it ain't. Listen, I don't know what DJ talking about. If it ain't for you, if home ownership ain't for you, I got a long-term rental for you.
I ain't mad at that either.
So you know what I'm saying. But it's no landlord is going to tell you this option exists, but we don't want to hold you back from what you could get if we have something to give you for it. But if you want to come stay with me,
if you want to do a 20-piece and build a whole family and all that stuff, watch the kids go off to college.
Listen, I like stability, so I understand it. No, I'm not knocking renting because I understand the need for it. I understand you have different jobs, you move, whatever.
Especially with work.
Even if you want to retire and just not have to worry about it. Some people retire, sell their houses, and just go rent. Because now you don't have no maintenance. Now you don't have so it's just.
Or people have the situation where their job will send them out somewhere, and they pay for all the stuff, and they're actually not even paying for rent.
Yeah.
But they're technically renting. So it's like, I understand
all
the situation. Right.
But it's something. I mean, what I'm saying is like I don't knock it. It's not for everybody either way. So it's like, do what's good for you and works in your situation, and just know that you got some allies out here who got you either way.
Right.
That's kind of what.
Because there's a lot of people that own properties and complexes and everything that's just literally gonna just come for your money, and they gonna hit you, and they ain't holding back, and they gonna keep raising that price. So
and they're not gonna
you
fix
ain't gonna
nothing.
get nothing back. They ain't gonna fix nothing. So I just want y'all to be aware of those things. Even if you are renting, make sure that you're in a good place, something that you're comfortable with, that is the bang for the buck for your price, whatever it is that you can afford. And then if you can find a way to upgrade that rental situation, whatever it is, I don't know, but what do they always say? When you make more money, but then you increase your lifestyle expenses as well.
You saying don't do that?
Yeah. What is it? I can't think of the damn word of it.
I know what you're talking about though. You're saying,
but don't do that.
Got you. Park the extra money as if it wasn't coming. Yeah.
And then that way you can set yourself up to say, okay, I'm comfortable with this. Even if I start making more money, now maybe I can consider. Maybe if you just want to invest into like a REIT or something, and that's still owning some real estate and stocks like that, maybe that's a lot of people like doing that too. So there's a lot of different options. But me personally, I don't like rent. I want to own everything, and that comes to like everything. Why would I rent this camera and this lens when I could just buy it and make my money back over time? There's a lot of different things I think about like that. So.
But you work.
But you got to work with what you got. That's what I'm saying.
Look, this is the difference. I didn't buy that camera because I ain't got $10,000 worth of work in me to what I'm finna do to pay that back.
Right.
But you like I can
But then you can still think out the box and be like, who do I got that's in my side, that's on my corner that can help me get that? Like, oh, I need the camera, or can you come do this for me?
Oh yeah, but that
compared to like, all
without a doubt.
right, let's just rent it first. So I don't know.
I get you.
There's a lot of
being resourceful.
To think about it. Yeah, be resourceful for a lot of stuff.
You be resourceful, like for sure. I'll loan you the camera. Got it.
You know what I'm saying? $12.99. Okay, so you think that was helpful?
I mean,
I hope.
I mean, look, we ain't no experts. We just telling you what we dealing with in life.
Right.
And if you see anything that fits your circumstances, take it. If not, let it fly. We're not pretending to be nothing that we not. We don't know nothing we don't know. It's just we're just sitting here talking about what we do in real life and figure we'd share with you guys.
Yeah, and it's definitely gonna be interesting to look back at all these videos 10 years from now and be like, bro, remember when we was there? We only had a couple properties and we was doing this, and the level up is gonna be crazy. I know. I'm just excited.
When we have the flashback, I need 100 million.
I'm excited. Flashback? What? 10 years?
What you want? What you want in that?
Oh, I need 100 properties for sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind 100 mil. I came to a solid number of 20 mil is gonna be really solid for me to be, living solid. I'll be cool. I'll be chilling. But I think I can definitely grow. Actually, yeah, 100 mil in 10 years actually is not that much.
Oh, it is, but it's not. I mean,
It's
it's relative.
possible. It scales quick.
I mean, look,
It scales quick.
We can hit tomorrow, and it's
I
400.
believe
Look,
in miracles.
Powerball 400 million right now. That's
Hey, you ain't gonna win if you don't enter.
But no, yeah, I think just looking back on what we can do from now is gonna be crazy.
Yes,
it's gonna be crazy when we do the the time lapse.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all look back and be like, damn, they really did that. And I don't need 100 million liquid. I'll take it in net worth.
Everything.
I'll take it in net worth.
Everything. I'm seeing some people double and triple up their investments real quick, going from 6 million to 40 million just over 2020. So I know it's possible.
Yeah,
It's definitely possible.
I'm going for it.
I hope y'all motivated. I hope y'all ready. We got plenty more videos as always. If you haven't already, make sure you download Webull, Robinhood, N1 Finance, any of those. I like to use all of them. If you put $100 into Webull, you'll get, I think it's like 4 additional free stocks, 1 free one with Robinhood, $30 credit on N1 Finance if you deposit $100 in there for investment as well. So I got the codes for you guys all down below to sign up for those, and I'm gonna make some more videos about those apps as well individually. So if you guys like seeing JQ on the videos, make sure you guys drop a comment down below.
But if you don't comment nothing.
And I'll tag him as well so you can follow him on IG. Send him a DM and spam his DM up so that way he can get annoyed by you guys and be pissed that I just said that in the video. All right, you guys, I'm signing out.